But your organization, I wanted to ask you about the members of your organization, including your family members, who are important to your success.
Well, there's now like 1,100 people that work at Rodale Press and the Rodale Institute, which is a separate nonprofit. We all consider them, we're all part of the same family, really.
Mm-hmm.
The management, the specific heavy-duty management, like president,
yes,
almost all the vice presidents are not family members, and many of them have been here a long time.
Mm-hmm. Are there any in particular that you rely on to mind the store while you're off visiting Russia?
Well, I rely on all of them, but Bob Teufel is the president, and he's been here, I guess, for 30 years. In 1961, he started.
And he's president, of Rodale Institute?
He's president of Rodale Press.
Okay.
John Habern is president of Rodale Institute. I really am not all that, I'm not retired,
mm-hmm.
but I don't have line responsibility for the nitty-gritty operations of Rodale Press.
Is it comparable to being chairman of the board?
My title is chairman of the board,
mm-hmm.
and I call myself chief executive officer, but it's really a shared office of chief
mm-hmm.
executive. I own, or I control 51% of the voting stock of Rodale Press, so that saves a lot of...
mm-hmm. Is the rest of it owned by family members, or is it some of it owned by
your
key people?
The rest is all owned by family members. We did have some, for a while we had, company officers had like 8% of the stock, but we've replaced that now with stock units, they're called, and we're redeeming that stock.
Mm-hmm. So in the end you did give or share some of the Rodale Press ownership with your family?
Oh yeah, well actually although I control the majority of the voting stock, we have non-voting and preferred, and I really have less and less of that. So we've, my children and my grandchildren mm-hmm. have now a lot of the stock.
Could you explain, because I'm a little confused about the relationship, could you explain the relationship between the Rodale Institute and the Rodale Press?
Right. Well, the Rodale Institute is a public non-profit. It was started by my father in 1947 as a public foundation.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally called the Soil and Health Foundation. The purpose was to ask readers of Organic Gardening magazine for contributions to be used for research by universities in organic farming.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite successful in getting contributions. They did put together, in those days, a fairly sizable amount of money. What was really fascinating is they could not find a single university that would accept the money. So
they had the money to give, and no one would take it?
No one would take it.
Because of what you wanted them to do with it?
Right. And we weren't saying that they had to prove that organic gardening was better. We just wanted them to do some research in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally we could get the scientists to say, okay, yeah, we'll do this, but it was always killed by the board of directors of the university. Mm-hmm. So that speaks a lot to the climate in those days. The attitude then was that no person with any advanced degree, whether master's or PhD in agriculture, could ever work in organic farming because it was just voodoo.
Now, are we still talking the 40s, or are we coming to the 50s?
This was the 50s,
mm-hmm.
40s, 50s, I would say mid-50s.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really begin to change very slowly. Maybe even got worse during the 60s, but in the 70s it began to change. So what we did with the Soil and Health Foundation, we more or less put it in mothballs. It was a shell. And then my father died in 1971, and we, at that time, we then bought the what we call the new farm in Maxitani, which is now the Rodale Research Center.
In Maxitani?
Maxitani, Pennsylvania. It's near Kutztown, about 12 miles west of here. And we decided to set up more effective research center. And we changed the name of, first we called it Soil Health Society to make it more of a membership organization. Then we changed the name to Rodale Institute, and we expanded the board. It's a long story, but it's completely independent of Rodale Press. It has a separate board of directors. I'm the chairman of it, as I am of Rodale Press, but it is recognized by the Internal Revenue Service as a public charity. And it has not only 501c3, but it has a 509A1 status, like a hospital. And
so contributions to it are tax deductible.
Contributions to it are tax deductible. And we've actually been able to get special permission from IRS for my mother to transfer some of her preferred stock in Rodale Press to the Institute, which is very unique to get that permission.
Yes, and why did she want to do that? I'm sorry.
Well, it was for her estate planning purpose, but also to help and to help the Institute. But one of the reasons that permission was given was because the Institute does so much work for the federal government, for Agency for International Development and USDA.
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about, was the number of organizations you cooperate with and you work with the federal government. Is that one of your biggest cooperators?
It could well be. Well, the Institute now gets a lot of support from membership. It has about 50,000 donors. Publishes the New Farm magazine. Yes. And it gets foundation grants, sometimes like about $1 million some years. And then it gets, it has the Agricultural Research Service person and program within it. We have AID grants, mostly for tropical and African work. And then, of course, the LISA program, we get some grants from that.